let me pull this up. No, here it is. Okay, so this is Meet Rachel. Here we go. Rachel Scott, she was born in Denver in 1982, and she was the middle of 5 children. Let's skip down to the bolded words, where she was a journal writer.
She was. And
at one point, they go back through her things, and she writes this while she is in middle school, I believe. Mm-hmm. I want to reach out to those with special needs because they are often overlooked. I want to reach out to those who are new in school because they don't have any friends yet. And I want to reach out to those who are picked on or put down by others. And so then that leads to a challenge. There's 5 things, and we'll get to that in a second, but where you were hired and went across the country
all over
to speak as part of Rachel's challenge.
Yes.
How in the world did you first? How did you come aware of this program or this nonprofit, this effort?
Yeah, so it's crazy. Columbine happened when I was only 11, but for some reason I was so interested in it.
Okay.
Which I mean probably like scared my parents. Why is she so interested? I don't know why I was interested in it. So making a super long story short, I was teaching at St. John's, like I mentioned, and we were going on a Catholic educators retreat to New Orleans with 5,000, other Catholic educators. And so this was April of 2011.
Okay.
And part of you could pick all your sessions, right? Well, there's probably 100 sessions because there's 5,000 educators. And one of the sessions was to go hear Daryl Scott speak himself about Rachel and Rachel's challenge. But I was like, I'm not going to go to that one. I need to go to one that will help me be an English teacher. Mm-hmm. So I signed up for the English teacher one. I walked in. It was so incredibly boring. All I wanted to do was go hear Daryl. Which is so unlike me. I walked out and I sat in the last row of the convention center and listened to him and like cried my eyes out. And then I waited for many hundreds of people to leave. And then I don't know what came over me, but I walked up to him and just said basically how moved I was. I knew a lot about his daughter. And I don't know if there is any opportunity to be a part of Rachel's challenge. But if there is, I just want to be a part of it. I just felt so strongly about the message. He took my information. I'm never going to hear from him again. Like, who's this crazy girl just walked up to me crying? 2 days later, his secretary calls me. They sent me a script. We did Zoom stuff back and forth on my lunch break at St. John's. My husband's already deployed at this point. It's probably why I went up and talked to him, because my husband had only been gone 2 weeks. So I was feeling very vulnerable at 23 years old.
Yeah.
And I flew out. I was hired. I will never forget at the end of our Zoom or whatever it was at the time, Skype, they were like, well, it goes without saying that you're hired. And I was like, my life just changed in that very moment. And a month later, I was on a flight and spent the next year as a presenter of their family story. There was about 30 of us, and we ran around full time, sharing the story of Rachel's challenge.
So you ended whatever teaching contract you were under.
Because I was moving to Tennessee anyway.
Okay.
I was ready, even though Jamie was deployed, I was ready to go on and move to the duty station and get on. So we had already bought a starter home that I was going to move into as soon as my sister's wedding was over.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I was free to run around and jet set for a year because my husband's in Afghanistan. So.
So here you are in Lapeer County, Michigan.
Oh my gosh! Get out! There I am.
And I believe it's in Michigan. Oh. And so in the second paragraph, Rachel's Challenge is an anti-bullying program that was started in memory of Rachel Joy Scott. And how ironic, right? That her middle name is Joy.
Oh yeah.
So you go down to the challenges.
Yeah.
And so the 5 challenges are: number 1, eliminate prejudice by looking for the best in others. Number 2, dare to dream by setting goals and keeping a journal. Number 3, choose your influences. Mm-hmm. Number 4, use kind words. And number 5, start a chain reaction with family and friends.
Yeah, wow, that's so cool to see that again.
So you're getting hundreds of thousands showing up for these messages? for these
So it was
assemblies, if you will?
Yeah, it was school presentations. So we would have entire schools in one presentation. So you're looking at anywhere from
A big assembly is what we used to call it.
1,500 to 3,000
Yeah.
kids in an assembly, and then we would do presentations for the community in the evening. So because this
cool.
was so heavy that kids would go home and then parents would come back in the evening because we had action points that we wanted kids to take.
Mm-hmm.
Really anybody that listened to it after the assembly. So at least parents could understand what their kids heard, help them process, and then, do those points of action.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And so you're like, at that point, 12 years removed from Columbine.
Yeah.
And obviously it's never going to be gone from anybody's memory.
Yeah.
But what a life-changing experience for you.
It was an incredible message of Rachel's story. I mean, her life was not in vain because she was such a remarkable young person.
Yeah.
And what she left behind physically. So it just made sense for them to tell her story, which happened organically. And so to be able to share that story with other people was something I believed in. And it also at the same time helped me hone my skills for speaking and showed me that if you care about what you're speaking about, you could be really good at it.
Yeah.
And it impacts other people.
Did they, when you approached them,
Yeah.
were there a lot of questions related to, have you done some public speaking? Are you okay, like in front of groups, or they just...
Well, that was why I had to take a script and showcase my speaking.
Yeah.
And then we had a very extensive week-long training, which
did?
was one of the
Okay.
hardest weeks because it's no joke. And then you go on a trip where they have someone with you and they critique you. And so,
I see.
but I learned a lot about responsibility. You don't fly across the country to oversleep your alarm when there's 3,000 people waiting in a school auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, I had to grow up really quick in order to fulfill those obligations, which was an incredible task for me and something I rose to, but wasn't easy.
Yeah. Just one other thing she wrote. She writes in a I'll just pull it up so you can see it too. She writes, I have this theory that if one person can go out of their way to show compassion, then it will start a chain reaction of the same. People will never know how far a little kindness can go.
I could still recite that. I could still do the whole thing.
And that was part of the script.
Yeah. It was part of her journal.
And part of that for you is the power of the pause and a dramatic effect, right? As you're telling a story.
Right. For
Right.
sure. Yeah. True story.
So cool.
It was really cool. Her brother, Craig, who is still a friend, as he's hiding under a desk in the library, his friend was shot next to him. And it was a racially motivated reason that they killed his best friend next to him. So, meeting someone who was his life was forever changed. And so getting to get to know him just made it very, very real for me. So
is it, again, you've written a lot. You started as a blogger. Is it difficult at times emotionally with some of the subjects and stuff that you cover?
I am so passionate about sharing people's stories. I think everybody I look at businesses and it's like, that's not just a donut shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not just a clothing boutique or a battery store. There are real people who made a decision to do what they're doing, and it stems from somewhere. And so when you view businesses that way and look at their life experiences that led to that decision, it really humanizes a business, and it just humanizes people that you see. And often they're born from struggles. And I love to share those